think we might be going on a past life journey, because I started seeing a lot of things. And when I see them very clearly, it's not usually from a spirit. It's usually like I'm seeing memories or kind of remote viewing kind of situation. So the very first things that I saw something kind of swoosh down in front of my vision, and I'm not exactly sure what it was. But when it came down, I could see what looked like flecks of gold and silver. It was like a layer of flecky, goldish, silvery stuff. But it felt like I was seeing something occurring. I was seeing something happening, like this was part of a memory or something. So let's keep going here. There's a person, I'm pretty sure they're a male, and they are outside, sort of. They're under like a covered area, but it's outside. And they are hammering, which is what I think I saw coming down in front of my vision. It's like the swing of the hammer. They're hammering metal. And I think that it's gold and or silver, like that's what they're hammering, which would make me think like a jeweler, but the hammer is very large. So maybe it's not jewelry. Maybe it's something else. He's very sweaty and hot. Like I just saw him wiping his brow. He has on some kind of gloves, like leather gloves that come up to his elbows. But he doesn't really have a shirt on. So wherever this guy is, it's very busy around him. Like there's a lot of people going by, and there's a lot of chitter chatter, and like it's busy. It's a busy place. But he's by himself. He's by himself, like diligently working in the midst of like maybe like a market or a town or something that's busy. But he's like oblivious to it because he's working. This definitely is like a forge, because I see the place where you would melt the metal and the cooling buckets where the metal goes into the water. Let's ask some questions here. Can we see a moment in this life that is important for Amber now? Something important for her now. I feel like I'm in the interior of a building now, and it seems like for the most part the building is made of wood. I can see like some logs that are like part of the structure, but there's cloth that's hung up in the rafters. When I first saw it, I felt like there was something about it that was like celebratory, like they're celebrating something, but then it also feels very domestic, like they're hanging clothes to dry, or this is like a hammock kind of thing where somebody would lay in it. The man is cutting meat in this space at like a counter along the wall, and there's a window, but he's not by himself this time. There's a woman who I feel like is his wife. I feel like there's a small child and she's pregnant. There's like a small child, like under 2, and she also is pregnant with another child. So there's a lot of domestic family things going on in this scene. You know, dude's a metalsmith of some sort. I felt like he was making high quality, high end armor, or I'm going to say armor, for people that were very wealthy, like the elite. And now he's with his family, wife, child, pregnant wife, child, small child. But why are we seeing this? Like, why is this important today? All right, I'm going to see if I can get one more little snippet of information here, and then we might have to pull a card or two to figure out why we're seeing this. There's some kind of loss that happens not too long after this. Like, that was one of the last happy moments. And there was something being celebrated at that moment, at that time. Something happens, and I don't know if she dies in childbirth or if there's some kind of like an illness or a sickness that takes place. It's some kind of sickness. Some kind of sickness happens to this family. And I feel like he loses his family to whatever it is. In my current life, I repress memories not on purpose, so my memory is really bad. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it could have been a sword, but I think I was leaning toward it being armor. Like fancy armor that has like jewels and shit in it. Because it made me feel like he was a jeweler, but then he was making things that were bigger than jewelry. You're describing my greatest fear, that I wake up and gasp almost every morning. I work really hard to try to protect my family financially and health-wise, but I'm in a constant state of fear that I'm going to drop the ball and lose everything. Holy moly, Amber. Okay, I'm going to go grab the Akashic Tarot cards because I feel like that's what we need to use for this. I knew I needed to pull these cards. Something was like, you need the Akashic Tarot cards, and I didn't listen, and now here we had to get them anyway. It's okay, Amber. That's why we're here. Because we're trying to work through some heavy shit. That's what this whole thing is all about. It's trying to help heal some spiritual level stuff. Okay, so why do we see this life for Amber? How is it connected to what's going on with her now? The Architect. Let's do one more. All right, how can us learning about this life, like, what can Amber do to work through this? You're in therapy, so that's good. Okay, so you got this card comes out a lot. It's the Four of Forces, but it came out with the Autumn side. So let's look at these. So we asked, why are you seeing this right now? And you got the Architect card. The One of Keys. A man and a woman in rich Egyptian dress stand at a table filled with structural drawings and measured utensils. He's the architect of all they survey, and he points to an unseen building in this expansive project. Throughout the scene, many workers toil on foundations, pylons, and palaces. Most important, this card shows that it's time for you to step into a position of power. In order to do that, you must recognize your talents and strengths as well as your authority to take charge. An opportunity beckons to utilize your skills perfectly. Feel the command you have over the great scope of the situation and take charge. My forehead is really tingly. I feel like this card is asking you to take charge of your fear. Realize that the fear it might be from this past life, some karmic patterns where you lost things in the past, and it's causing fear in your present. And I think this card is asking you to take charge of your fear. That you have the power and the authority over your own karma, your own lives, your own emotions. That there isn't a reason to be fearful now. and that you can be the architect of your own karma and your own patterns and your own emotions. But let's look at this other card too. So then I asked, well, how can you work through this? And you got the Autumn card, which is the Four of Forces. Receiving this card reversed puts autumn in the upper position. It reveals that a cycle of harvest and perhaps great abundance is coming to you. You will certainly be called upon to gather up the results of the action you've taken in the past. You will be called upon to gather up. Oh, that makes me feel some weird stuff. To gather up the results of the action you've taken in the past. Although the results you've been anticipating may be favorable, don't forget that there are efforts in the harvest as well as in the planting. There may be some loose ends to tie up or some final action that needs to be taken. If so, focus on what needs to be done now to bring closure and completion to the matter at hand. Harvest is a time of reaping what you've sown. Enjoy the fruits of your labor, whether the harvest is big or small. Always choose to live in appreciation. Placing gratitude in your Akashic records now will invite many things that generate more gratitude in the future. Well, that one sentence just about threw me for a loop. Gather up the results of the actions you've taken in the past. Like you've been holding on to this fear from this life that was so long ago, all of this time. And by taking control of it and choosing to be the architect, the planner, the authority over your own karma and fears is going to allow you to harvest something much more pleasant instead of fearful. Placing gratitude generates more gratitude in the future. So maybe instead of waking up in fear that you're going to lose everything, instead start replacing it with gratitude. Instead of saying, I'm scared that I'm going to lose this, instead say, I'm grateful that I have it. Could be helpful for you, Amber. Well, that was a weird reading. As usual. Isn't that so frustrating to have a past life fears, but we don't have the memory of it? Yeah, for sure. I really feel like they're replacing the fear with some gratitude, flipping the script is a way that you might be able to reclaim your own thoughts and adjust your karma. Replacing fear with gratitude. Also felt like it was a very long time ago. There was almost something about it that made me feel like it had something to do with the Romans, but that place wasn't, because at one point, Rome is absolutely huge, right? It takes up so much of Europe, and it's all considered Rome, but it's not what we would think of as Rome today. It felt like the Roman era, but in a place that wouldn't be Rome today. And it was really warm and sunny. So it must have been not Northern Europe, southern-ish. That was an interesting past life.